Hi guys, my name is Michaela. I'm from Phoenix, Arizona. And today we're reading an article about interrogation methods. We'll be discussing some politics as well. I want to know what you guys think are appropriate methods for interrogation. If you guys have any comments or questions about this class, you can let me know on Facebook, and I'll put my Facebook name in the chat box for you. You can also contact me on my Verbling profile. I do private classes, or you can just ask me more about when I'm doing my open classes, what my schedule is like, or just to say hi. So there should be some notes in the class for you guys, but I'm also going to open the article here if my computer wants to cooperate. We'll see. And of course, the first question we're going to answer is, what are proper interrogation methods? I'll put the 6 conversation questions we're going to answer today in the chat box for you. So let's talk a little in the beginning about what torture is. We're going to define torture. Anatoly, welcome to class.
Hello, thank you.
Good to have you here, Anatoly. So can you define torture for us? What do you think of as torture?
Torture, it is a constantly feeling of pain.
Ooh, good one. What kind of pain? Physical pain?
It is extremely strong pain.
Okay, so a feeling of a strong pain. That's a great start to our definition. Mustafa, can you add to that definition? Mustafa, are you there? Mustafa, you're muted. Now you're not muted, but I still don't hear you. You can adjust your audio up on the bar above. And if you're having any trouble, let me know in the chat box. Maybe I can help you out. All right. So far, we've defined torture as a feeling of strong pain. Anatoly, do you think that applies to both physical and mental pain, or just physical?
We can use for both of kind of pains, and mental pain usually they may be not so high level, not so strong, but usually it is on the long time. It could be on the long time, in the long period of time, and it is also difficult for people.
Definitely. So now that we've defined torture a little bit, let's talk about number 2. What are appropriate ways to interrogate terrorists? And that should have a question mark on it. But Anatoly, do you think it's appropriate to use methods of torture in interrogation?
No, I think it is not appropriate way to torture the terrorists.
And why not?
It is against human nature, I think, and even for people who commit a very high level crime, I think it is also not appropriate way to torture them.
So you think even people who have committed really high-level crimes don't deserve torture?
Yes, I think yes.
What about the death penalty?
I could admit a death penalty in certain situations, but
Interesting.
I can't accept this method, torture people.
Wow. So torture is always wrong, but sometimes the death penalty is warranted, merited. Thank you very much for sharing your opinion with us, Anatoly. And Nacho, welcome to class.
Hello, Michaela. How are you?
Good. How are you, Nacho?
I'm fine.
Good to have you here. We're covering some really deep topics today, some political topics. So,
Yes,
Nacho, how would you define torture?
Torture.
Yeah.
Torture is a method to achieve people to say um, to say the truth when when someone want to occur it.
So, you're saying that sometimes torture is used to get information?
Yes, I think is the most common use of the torture is to get information. I don't know if I think it's not a good way, but it's a way.
All right. And really quick, I'm going to show how to adjust microphones. This is good information for everyone to have. But if you come to the top of your screen here, you'll see a little cog where you can adjust which microphone you're using. Sometimes your computer has a microphone and your headphones have a microphone, so you can switch and try which one is working and which one's not. That's the best way to adjust your microphone. So Mustafa, good luck. If that doesn't help, let me know. Maybe you can, I think you already tried to reload, so I hope that works for you. Howard, welcome to class.
Hi, Michaela. How are you? Hello.
Hello, we can hear you, but we can't hear our teacher.
You can't hear
Okay,
me?
Michaela.
And
Are you having
now we can.
troubles with the connection?
What?
Now we can hear you, Michaela.
You're mute.
No,
No, I
we
can
can't.
hear you.
We can't. No,
Are you
No.
speaking, Michaela? Are you crying? No, we can't hear you. I can't.
Yes, that's okay.
All right, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, it's better.
Yay! Okay, so I want to know what you guys think about torture, and some of you I haven't been able to talk to yet. So Howard, what do you think? Is torture sometimes necessary?
Can you repeat me the last part?
Yeah, is torture sometimes necessary?
I don't know. It depends about for what is are you making that and who is the person who is interrogated. But I don't know. There is a lot of forms
Mm-hmm.
um, that that don't need torture.
Mm-hmm.
There is there are chemics, polyphons.
So you think that usually it's not necessary, but sometimes maybe it is?
Yes, yes, yes. If he's a terrorist, big terrorist,
Mm-hmm. Like
even
maybe
you
to
can do
save
that.
lives of other people or
Yes,
to
yes,
prevent
yes,
future terrorism.
yes. It's
All
very
right.
good. There are a lot of crazy people, and you don't
That's
know
true.
how many
Very
people you
true.
can save.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Elena, how about you? Will you give us your thoughts? Do you think torture is sometimes necessary?
Mm, I don't know if it is necessary, but I'm sure that we don't have to use it because perhaps in a moment we can think that we are sure that it is necessary, but if we allow it sometimes. None of us can be sure anymore because police or government or other people may think that torture is necessary against us. So even in sometimes, perhaps in the in a short time, it would be a good thing. That I don't think so, but even if we think that in middle time or a long time is going to be an awful thing, and it's
Mm.
going to destroy the um, mm, what I think must be the base of society, that is law,
Mm-hmm.
respect to law, and torture is against the law and the human rights. So I think it's a bad thing always.
It's kind of scary. Earlier, I was talking to Anatoly, and he said the same thing. He said that torture is definitely not appropriate, but that sometimes the death penalty is. Elena, do you agree with him? Do you think that torture is never appropriate, but that sometimes, in extreme cases, the death penalty is?
No, I don't agree. I don't
All
agree
right,
because
so we have a rainbow perspective here. Tell us why not.
yes, that's good. Um, I think the government and the states can have another methods to fight against crime or terrorism.
Mm-hmm.
I think we can do things in other ways, in better ways, and of course, if someone does something terrible to my family, for example, I should wish that person dies. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not my psychological wish what have to be taken in account, but society in general, and death penalty has a lot of secondary effects.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Very important. All right. So we're going to talk for a few minutes about, or we're going to read this article about 5 interrogation methods the CIA used on terrorism suspects. This was a recent news event in the US because this is usually classified secret information, but recently it has been released. So this is some new information, although it's about very old acts, things that happened many years ago, but it's new information to the public. We're going to read a little bit about it. Can you guys see this okay? Can you all read the letters? Or do you need it a little bigger?
Yeah, this is good.
That's okay.
All right, I'll make it maybe one bigger. Okay, so we'll read this
now it's
together.
better.
Awesome. And I'm going to ask Nacho to read the first 2 paragraphs for us.
Okay. The report from the Senate Intelligence Committee on the CIA's interrogation techniques after the attacks of September 11 in 2001 details the method of the agency used against terrorism suspects. The report says the techniques were ineffective, a point the agency disputes. And the report says records do not support CNA representation that the CIA initially used an open, non-threatening approach, or that interrogation began with the least coercive technique possible and escalated to more coercive techniques only as necessary.
All right, so there was a lot of vocabulary in those first 2 paragraphs, like the word coerce and coercive here. Can we define the word coercive?
Coercive, I think it means it's a technique that you don't leave freedom to the other part to answer or not. You force him to answer whatever you want or coercive is with strongly.
Exactly. That's a good definition for it. Any other vocabulary questions from this section?
No.
All right, so the main ideas here are that the CIA is not saying the same thing as the reports say. The CIA thinks that the techniques they used were effective and that they started with a very mild approach and then got more extreme as necessary, but the reports say something else. So let's talk a little bit about how effective you think torture is. That's an important fact in this article. So Anatoly, do you think torture can be effective in gaining information, even if it's not morally right? Do you think it's effective?
I think it could be effective because people in history used it lots of time, constantly, before we reached our modern society level. And but as I said before, I think it is against human nature, and I think it is absolutely doesn't appropriate to use this method for nowadays.
Okay.
And moreover, everyone could be suspected as a terrorist if he or she fighted against government, certain government, and it could touch everyone, I think,
But yeah,
theoretically.
definitely. That's why it's frightening, right?
Mhm.
Thanks, Anatoly. And Ken, welcome to class.
Yes, hello, how are you?
Good. How are you, Ken?
Yes, I'm fine, thank you.
So, Ken, we're talking about interrogation methods and some of the torture that was used against suspected terrorists. And right now we're answering the question, do you think torture is an effective way to gain information? So what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's pretty inhumane and it's will produce a kind of false accusation. You know.
So it might not get accurate information?
Yeah, because in order to get out of from the suffer, maybe some people admit or false information, or false accusation happens.
All right, so you think it's both cruel and also not accurate, like not an effective way to get good information.
Yes.
All right, thanks, Ken. Elena, do you agree with him? Do you think it's not very effective because you might get wrong information?
Yes, I agree. I'm a weak person, so if someone tortures me, I'm sure I was going to say anything what I have done and what I haven't. So, and we have a lot of cases of that in history and nowadays. People who has confessed a crime under torture, and then it's not true. It's quite often. We know that because well, it's it's very common in these cases. So no, it's a bad method for that.
All right. Howard, do you agree with them? Do you think that it's not effective because you might get wrong information?
Yes, it's not in all corrected. Some people in some occasions, after being tortured, were saying what interrogators wanted to hear. That is a problem.
You think you would do that if you were in their situation?
Yes, probably.
All right. And Nacho, what do you think? Do you think that sometimes we get accurate information or do we get mostly inaccurate information from torture?
I think that mostly you can get inaccurate information because the person who is tortured, maybe the only thing that wants is to avoid the torture, to stop torture. And in fact, it's not very useful because then if you have some information through the torture, then it's not going to be very valid at courts. So it's a bad way to obtain information.
Yeah, true. That's a good point. The courts don't always accept things that are not good methods of collecting information. So we read the first two paragraphs, and there's a section here that's from a document. We're going to skip this. You guys can read this on your own. It is interesting, but it's also not all totally necessary. So we're going to skip these sections and read the actual methods they used to gain some information. And the first method we're going to talk about that they used that some people consider torture is rectal infusions. How about Howard? Can you read that section for us?
Okay, rectal infusion. The report says some detainees were subjected to rectal rehydration without evidence of medical necessity, and that others were threatened with it. It adds that at least one of the suspects was rectally hydrated for partially refusing flights. The report says that a medical officer discussed the method used as means of behavior control. One medical officer noted, while four infusion is safe and effective, we were impressed with the ancillary effectiveness of rectal infusion on ending water refusal in a similar case. There is a lot of words, I don't know.
All right, so let's start with, let me look over here. Well, first of all, let's talk a little bit about what this is. What is this rectal infusion? It's a medical process, right? Does anyone know exactly a little more specifically what this is?
No.
It's definitely not a very pleasant thing.
Specifically, I don't know, but the name says all.
Yeah. Okay, so you're not familiar with the process, but you guys get what it is. What are some other vocabulary words that you guys are having trouble with here?
Okay. Yeah. The Chinese. I don't know what is that.
Oh, that's a good one. Detainees. So what is a detainee? How about Elena? Do you know what a detainee is?
Yes, I guess detainees are people who are in jail or who are in this process to be interrogated.
Uh-huh. Exactly. So people who are perhaps in prison or being,
Okay.
they're in a defined location and they can't leave.
So,
They're
prisoner.
confined. Yeah, a prisoner,
Yes.
essentially. Excellent. Any other vocabulary questions from this section?
Yes, refusing fluids.
So refusing fluids, how about Anatoly? If you refuse fluids, what might that mean? Oops. Oh, he's gone. All right. How about Nacho? Do you know what it would mean?
The refusing fluids.
Yeah.
Partially refusing. I think that the refusing fluids are the fluids that someone get away.
Okay. Fluids, what do you mean?
I don't know. The refusing fluid could be the fluid that someone lost in a period of time.
Yeah. So I think what they're saying here is that some of the detainees were refusing fluids, meaning that they might have been attempting to commit suicide. They didn't want to take in fluids anymore, which is probably a big problem for their health. It might have been some kind of protest to the conditions. We're not really sure, but they weren't drinking water, which of course can be deadly over the course of just 4 days or so. And so there's a process, a medical process, to rehydrate a person. If the person refuses to drink, you can rehydrate the person using this rectal infusion.
Okay.
Yes, I had misunderstood the word because I thought it was an adjective, and as a verb I understand it perfectly.
All right, great. And what about the word ancillary?
Yes, I don't know what is that.
Let's see if I can find it again.
Second.
Here it is. So ancillary, does anyone know that word already?
No.
It's like helping or supporting. So they were impressed by how effective this supporting method could be. Like,
Okay, another way to get.
yeah,
Okay.
exactly. All right. Any other questions on this first interrogation method?
No.
All right. Then the next one we have is called gun and drill. And sorry, computer problems today. Ay. Who hasn't read yet? Anatoly, have you read?
No.
Go ahead and read this one for us.
Gun and drill. A CIA officer identified as Officer 2, who had not been trained in the agency's interrogation techniques, used unauthorized techniques against the detainee Abd and al-Rahim al-Nashiri. The report says, for example, Officer 2 placed al-Nashiri in a standing stress position with his hands fixed over his head for approximately 2.5 days. Later, during the course of all Nashiri's debriefings, while he was blindfolded, a CIA officer 2 placed a pistol near al-Nashiri's head and operated a cordless drill near al-Nashiri's body. Al-Nashiri did not provide any additional threat information during or after these interrogations.
Thanks. So one more interrogation method, and we have another couple vocabulary words here that are important. Do you guys have any questions so far in vocabulary?
Blindfolded.
Good one. So blindfolded, can anyone give us a definition for a person who is blindfolded?
Okay, so with his eyes closed with I don't know, with a wear or.
Yeah. His eyes are covered with something, so he can't see.
Okay.
What about the term affixed?
He can breathe.
Not exactly. Asphyxiate is when you can't breathe, but here we're talking about his hands. So he has his hands affixed over his head. What does it mean if his hands are affixed there? Does anyone know?
Tied, maybe, his hands.
Yeah, they're tied or held,
definite
they're
position.
constricted. Exactly. All right. Any other questions on this section before we move on? These don't sound like much fun, huh?
What is the debriefing?
Yes.
Debriefings?
Debriefing is towards the end when he's being released or when information about him is being released and the process is coming towards the end. So later during the course of his debriefing means that they might have been getting more information from him, and it was coming towards the end of the time that they had to get information from him. So they're using perhaps more extreme methods at that time.
When he gives up.
And he what?
Well, it means when he gives up.
Yeah, could be. When he was giving information, giving up whatever he knew, possibly. Although they mention here that they didn't get any additional information, so they probably wanted more information from him that they did not succeed in getting for one reason or another. Perhaps he didn't have the information, or perhaps he just didn't give it to them. But all right. And Elena, will you read about the first two paragraphs of waterboarding?
Okay. Waterboarding. The CIA has maintained that it used the technique on three detainees, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, Abu Subaidah, and Abarrahim al-Nashiri. But
Senator?
Senator Dianne Feinstein, the Cali
California.
chairwoman of the California, okay, chairwoman of the Senate panel, said on her website that there were records to indicate that the CIA may have used the waterboard technique on more than the three detainees that CIA had previously identified. The statement adds, for example, the committee uncovered a photograph of a waterboard with buckets of water around it at a detention site where the CIA has claimed it never subjected a detainee to the waterboard, it said. In meetings with the CIA in 213, CIA was unable to explain the presence of the well-worn waterboard at the CIA detention site.
Thank you very much. I'll read one more paragraph about waterboarding and then we'll talk about it a second. So the Senate report said the technique was physically harmful, inducing convulsions and vomiting. Abu Zubaydah, for example, became completely unresponsive with bubbles rising through his open, full mouth. Internal CIA recordings describe the waterboarding of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed as evolving into a series of near drownings. So this is pretty serious stuff. First off, let's talk a little bit about the CIA. Nacho, does it sound like the CIA is being very cooperative in giving information?
Sorry, the CIA is very cool?
Does it sound like the CIA is being very cooperative in giving accurate information about what happened?
Cooperative? I don't understand.
Good question. So cooperative is when the CIA is working with another group. So in this case, they're releasing information, but a lot of the information seems not to match up. So it's possible that they're not being very cooperative. How about Anatoly? What do you think? Is the CIA cooperating in giving accurate, appropriate information?
Cooperate. Could
Cooperative.
you cooperative? Could you please mark this word in the text?
No, I'm sorry. It's not in the text, but I'll put it in the chat box for you guys.
Cooperative. Cooperate. To work together.
Yes, to cooperate is when you do something with another person, like you work towards the same goal. So I cooperate with the company Verbling to produce lessons for students, or I cooperated with my cousin to throw a surprise party for my aunt, or something. So we work towards the same goal.
CIA cooperated with whom?
The media and basically reports. So they had to write reports about what they did and what happened, but the reports don't match. Like some reports don't match other reports, the reports don't match the pictures, and some reports don't match what people are saying. So there's a lot of different information going around and no one can explain why none of it is the same. None of it matches up and it seems not to make a lot of sense.
I think for CIA it is only one way to reveal the truth. because it is a very, I think it is very not appropriate way to touch people. We read how harmed it was for healthy of people. It is fascists' ways to touch people, and only why there is, in my opinion, there is only one way to cancel that disease, to reveal the truth.
True. Very true. Elena, do you think that the people who participated in this torture should be punished for what they did?
Yes, but I think that the most important thing um, is to provide legal methods, so police officers or the CIA officers can't do that kind of things. So I think it's the person is responsible, the concrete person that has done something like that. But I think it's a political issue, more than an issue of individuals of persons, of concrete persons.
Got it.
So if you provide the methods to be transparent, to tell the truth to society, that kind of things are not going to happen anymore. And I think that's the important thing.
All right. Howard, do you believe that the people who committed this torture should be punished for what happened?
No, the people. I don't think that that people who has done that needs to be punished. Maybe the responsible, the person who makes the order to do that, he will be to be punishment.
Okay, so someone should be punished for what happened because it wasn't a just or right thing.
Yes. It's not just. It's we have human rights. It's our all.
Could be.
Yeah.
All right. And Nacho, what do you think? Should they be punished for what happened and the torture that took place?
Yes, I think that they should be punished.
And who? Do you think everybody? The people who committed the torture or the people who ordered the torture to be committed?
Both of them, of course.
Everyone. Okay.
Everyone. I think it's sometimes happens because of the boss has ordered to do that, but and other times the boss doesn't know that the agent is doing torture, because torture is sometimes is the easiest way to obtain bad information. That is very easy. For someone that is a bad person, maybe it would be the best way, but it's not correct.
All right. Let's read one more. The next one is chaining. How about Anatoly? Will you read that for us?
Chaining. More than half the 119 detainees identified by the Senate were housed in the detention facility named Cobalt in an unnamed country. It said untrained officers conducted interrogations at the facility using techniques that were not and never became part of the CIA's formal enhanced interrogation program.
Okay, so they're less specific about what chaining is, but they give a better description down in the paragraph below. It said that they were held partially nude and chained to a concrete floor, and some of them possibly died from hypothermia. So it's really serious stuff, and it's not something that was kept record of very well, obviously. Do you guys have any vocabulary questions on that section? No? Too depressing?
Yes, very depressing.
Well, we're going to get to a slightly more positive note in just a second. There's just one more little line here, which was another type of interrogation method, I guess, which is nudity. Many of the detainees were kept naked and chained or shackled during their interrogation. So that obviously puts a person in a very vulnerable place, and yeah, that's all we have. So those were the interrogation methods that were used and considered torture. Does everyone agree that these are torture? Is there anyone who thinks that they're not? I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, I think that is a way of torture.
Mm-hmm.
You are hitting on the psychics,
Mm-hmm.
on the mind of the person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
It's not physical, but in their minds is very hard.
Yeah, for sure. So sometimes physical pain is torture, but sometimes mental pain is just as bad. All right, so these are, go ahead. What'd you say, Nacho?
No, sorry. No, I was to say that I think that physical torture is always worse than the mental torture.
Yeah, you think physical torture is worse?
Worse than the mental torture.
So why is that?
What is that? Did you talk about?
Yeah, yeah.
About trying to get information from one only without any torture, physical torture, but there are a lot of kinds of tortures. You can trust, you can threaten someone. For example, is a kind of torture.
So you think that waterboarding would be worse than putting a gun near a person?
No, I think both of them are physical torture because you are. No, but I'm not able to do what is the worst, but I think the physical one is the worst because it's very difficult to admit it, kind of torture like we have just read.
All right. Well, on the positive side, at least these things are being talked about now. I think that's important.
Yes, I would like to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult question, but I would like not your opinion. Of course, I would like to know, but no, how this is field live in the U.S. It's a very important news, or it's a lot of people talking about that, or not, or most people are. Most people think, well, it's justified or not.
Well,
How do
there's
you see that there? Not you, but well, of course, you as well,
but
but the
we as
population.
Americans. Mhm.
Yes.
Well, I think that there is a lot of variety. I think most people feel similarly to what you guys have expressed, which is that this is not something that's fair or right, and this is also not something that the U.S. people were aware about. It's something that was very secret for a long time. So I think there's some distrust that's happened between the population of the U.S. and the government, because these kinds of things obviously are not something that people were aware of, and now that we're aware, it's kind of like, well, if they're doing this, what else could they be doing? What else are they doing that maybe in 15 years we'll find out that right now something else is going on that we were never aware of. So there's definitely a lot of distrust happening. But right now there's also another movement going on in the US, and it has to do with our police force and some unfair treatment of police and the general population as well. So I think it's happening on local levels with the police force and normal populations, as well as inside our government, which with people who are being kept prisoner and the CIA. So in various levels, this kind of treatment is sort of being suspect right now in the US. It's a very big political problem and conversation going on in the US.
Yeah.
All right, so we have 7 more minutes of class, and I'd like you guys to come up with some ground rules for interrogation of terrorists. So if you were going to make the rules for how a person can be interrogated, what would they be? And keep in mind, we'll say that you guys get to decide the September 11th attacks, like you caught the person responsible and now you have to interrogate them for information. So it's going to be a person who is probably very politically important and is attached to gangs or a crime ring that could potentially hurt more people. So come up with ground rules for how to interrogate that kind of terrorist. And I'll give you guys a couple minutes, maybe 2 or 3 minutes, to think of your rules, and then we'll share them a little bit and talk about them if we have time. And if you guys have questions while you're writing, let me know.
Okay.
I could use restriction of freedom, traditional way.
Like what?
Restriction of freedom in the prison. It could be a strong regime, strong rules in the prison with, for example, obligation to stand up early, to sleep in the late, without maybe without fresh air. But I think it is not touchy. It is strong order, strong obligations. I don't know this word in English. When we don't have any freedom at all in prison.
So are you saying that that's something that shouldn't be allowed, or that should take place?
It could be used.
To try to get more information, they restrict their freedoms.
Yes.
Okay, and that would be like an alternative to torture?
No, I think it is just a way of being in the prison. More freedom, more or less freedom for people who are going to cooperate with the interrogators. It could be more freedom.
Interesting. So
Yes.
cooperation gets you more freedom. That would be maybe more convincing to give accurate information.
Mhm.
All right. Elena, how about you? Can you think of any other rules that you would set or ways that you think interrogation should take place?
No, no, I can't think of an appropriate answer for your question because I don't know. I think it's a quite a difficult situation, and I even understand the urge of obtaining information, but I'm no I sure that torture is bad, but I'm not be able to tell something positive to say, well, we could do that and we all are going to be happy and so on. No, I can't. I can't answer.
Okay. Yeah, it's difficult, not an easy one.
Yes.
Howard, how about you? Can you think of any rules you would set for interrogation or ways that you
Okay.
think people should go
Oh,
about
um,
interrogation?
Um,
just a moment. I
Yeah.
I
okay.
am thinking about something. Um, I think we have to provide the methods to avoid torture and other things. I don't know how to get information, but for example, I think every interrogation should be recorded. So afterwards,
Ooh.
yes, or register in some way. So not to put it in the news, of course, but we have to control how things are made.
It's a
So
good idea.
yes,
More
so
oversight.
we could control that kind of behaviors. But
Good point. Yeah, that would be really helpful. All right,
Yeah.
so we have more and less freedom, like Anatoly said. We can record things, like Elena said. Howard, what else can we do, or what other ways should we practice interrogation to avoid torture?
I don't know. Then I
It's
think
hard.
that the way to avoid or to prevent the 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 the, 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 the torture is maybe doing that on the way to prevent a war. Maybe it's, I think there will be the only way to to let to do that to a
Mm-hmm.
government.
I think to avoid the torture is not very difficult. If you have a medical control before and after every uh, every meeting or every fact that the terrorist is going to be asked for something,
Mm-hmm.
you can avoid the control. This, maybe in small places and in fast moments, just in the moment of the detention moment when the police has is being fighting against the terrorists, it's
Mm-hmm.
very difficult to it's very difficult to everyone to keep all the rules, but
Mm-hmm.
then with you are quite and the prisoner is in jail, it's more easy. If you have only a few medical controls,
Mm-hmm.
like Elena said, you have everything recorded. It's not it's not it's not difficult thing.
Mm-hmm. Very true. All right, great ideas, guys.
The point is to obtain all the information that you need to put in jail the terrorist.
Mm-hmm.
But always you have to think that maybe the terrorist that you are asking is not guilty. And what about if he's not guilty? You can't torture him, because
True.
I can't imagine that someone get me for a mistake because because my face is similar to another one. By a mistake, I can find in jail suffering torture.
Yeah.
Would be terrible.
Yeah, it could be that has occurred before, which is awful to think about.
And of course, there are a lot of mistakes in the law and in the system.
Yeah, that's so true. All right. So we've just about run out of time for today, but we had some very interesting discussions. You guys had great opinions to share today. And I want to thank you guys for coming in and talking for a little while. I hope to see you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
All right,
See you in the
bye.
next.
Bye, guys.
Bye.